All right. So, what do we want to talk about today? What do we got? Some questions or what?
Okay, here's one. I find this is the best and most annoying question.
Yeah.
Is it true that the customer is always right?
Let me see if Google has an answer for me. Is the customer always right?
What's your theory on that and how you deal with that?
Customers are like children. Sorry if I have any customers. I actually have had customers tell me they listen to my podcast. So I'm sorry. I don't mean that to be offensive, but I mean it in the fact that they don't have the experience in that specific category.
Yeah.
Just like where, in most cases, a tile guy is not a rocket scientist or, can't break something down to a molecular level or whatever. So I think that the customer is like a child, and we have to get them to the other side. The goal, like in the military, they call it a CI, which is your commander's intention. So, what's the commander's intention? Well, obviously, Joe Biden, he's the boss, right? Right now, as the president, but the boots on the ground, understand what needs to happen far more than he does. So he gives what's the CI, the commander's intention. Like, we don't want this to happen. And as it goes down the line, it gets to the bottom, and the bottom has an idea of what to do. So we're basically, even though it's kind of like Biden's the child, the homeowner's the child, they're right in the fact that they have an overall goal they want to accomplish, but they're wrong in the fact of how the process should be. So it's a really difficult thing to navigate as you go through, and you're walking like a tightrope when you have these clients who are like, we want this, and this, and we want you to use this thin set, or we want you to use this material, or we want you to show up wearing these clothes or driving this truck. And if that sounds ridiculous to a customer, it's basically what you're asking. Like, you're basically asking us to tear ourselves completely apart, remove all of our experience, and do everything the way that we want you to do it, which could be counterproductive to the end goal, the CI, right? So I think that customers are right when it's the bigger picture, like what they want, they want a specific layout or whatever, but in the end, we have to deliver it the way we know best. You're not gonna go into a restaurant, walk in the back and start flipping your own burgers and telling the cook how to do it, whether you know about it or not. So yes and no. All of that to get to you, yes and no.
Okay, here's one about balance. What do you do when the customer or client asks you to do something that looks shit, in your opinion, but they like it and they are paying for it? How do you balance that? Because you're still putting your name on it.
I think it's easier than it sounds, because I think that, at the end, you bought it. Like, I get it, you bought it. It's kind of like going into a clothing store or whatever, and you've got like someone helping you, like, does this look good? And they're like, who the fuck cares if she thinks it looks good or he thinks it looks good? It's how I feel about it or whatever. So I have told people like my preferences, and there are certain instances where you're like, you shouldn't do that because it's going to give you a bad product. Like, we had a homeowner who wanted blue grout on a job, and you're like, it's a bad product. Like, it's not going to show up as the same blue. It's not going to give you what you think. And then again, you go back to the commander's intention. Like, what's your intention here, is to have something with this overall look. So I think you should really dissect what they want, which, whatever you're starting a project, you should ask more questions than tell them what your opinion is, right? Does that answer the question? Did I just say a bunch of words that didn't really...
No, it's good. It's good.
No, it's good. Thank you for my affirmation.
No,
I appreciate that.
Okay, here's one. Because it's a different world now.
Okay.
Definitely. Are you finding it harder to make small talk with customers? So, for example, when you're speaking about things that aren't about the job, whether you're talking about politics, the war, the trucker rally, do you find it's now like a no-fly zone to go?
Oh, everywhere. Like, and when I was little, my dad joined the Chamber of Commerce, and I was like his little like salesman. And so he would hand me a stack of business cards, and he'd go talk to all the people. So I'd run around and I'd be like, hey, Papa. And you're like this cute little kid with a dimple, and they're like, oh my God, this is adorable. Let's do business with your dad. Like, it was like a shoe-in for him. I find that my whole life, being open about everything, like when you have conversations, it's important to be able to run up and talk about anything. When you start limiting all those things, it becomes really fucking awkward. Like really quick. So when you go up and I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? Whatever. And I'm not wearing a mask, but you are. And you're like offended and you're like, stay away. All of a sudden it's like, it throws you off your game. So I think it sucks. But it's also probably making people better at, the more they have to navigate through that, the better they are now at creating conversation from nothing. So it's like, oh, that's off the topic, so let's move on to something else. And then you kind of, until something ticks. And I think the better you get at that, the better of a communicator you'll be. So that's how I feel.
Something about your job that got better in the pandemic and something that got worse.
We had more work than ever. Traffic was light. That was a good part. That was like going to work on a Monday at like 7:30 and there's like nobody on the 401. Like that was amazing. And if those that don't know what the fucking 401 is the most busy highway in North America, right? That's the thing.
Up there.
I think it's like the world's something, whatever. Anyway, it's fucking busy. It's like worse than LA Highway 10, okay? And jumping on the road in the morning was really nice. I found at the beginning it was like kind of easy. We still had all our work. We were essential as construction. We're going through, nothing really difficult. But now it's the schedule. Schedule is the hardest thing to run. It takes literally full-time job running the schedule. And it's like, no matter what you do to prevent things, even just as last week, we're working away, tapers come in and they freaking flood the house. It looks like a baker's fucking kitchen. Like just flood the house with sand. And they're supposed to be done before we even start. We had been there for like 3 weeks. It's like, nobody can keep their schedule straight. And it's not really, maybe it's poor business management, which we've done. We've had that on our end too. I think people need to get better at managing their business and what they can take on and what they can't. But yeah, scheduling has been really fucked up. And when you're building a house with 12 trades or 20 trades in there coming in and out, it becomes really hectic about halfway through. So that's been pretty tough.
With people locked away in their homes, and you're in people's homes all the time, are you noticing people are investing more money in their house?
Oh my God.
Since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And what's some of the some wild stuff you've seen?
I don't know. Since I moved to Toronto, I feel like people in Toronto want to renovate every 2 years. Like they're like, oh, I just did my kitchen a couple years ago, but the backsplash doesn't match, so we took that down, and then we changed the cabinets because it didn't go with the hardwood, and then we changed the and you're like, holy shit, you did a full gut renovation when you did your kitchen 2 years ago. Where I come from, you do like a tile job and you shake the guy's hand because you're never gonna see him again. Like it's like you're done. Like 30 years later, the floor is still there. I can still drive by jobs today. I did when I first started. I can drive by jobs, exterior houses, and the tile's still there. It's the same tile. But so the pandemic, I feel like, yeah, people are just kind of trying to go eccentric now. Like, what can we do? We've got an extra $10,000, $20,000 that we used to vacation with every year, and now we can't. So let's just toss it into our house.
Okay, one more on COVID. As things open up, because now like the passport's gone, the masks are gone in most of North America, right?
Yeah.
What do you expect is going to be the biggest change in the future? Now that things are almost the way they were 2 years ago, is something going to change? Spending more money, less money on different things. What do you think the major change is going to be?
I think there's a massive uncertainty, right? And I think every time that happens, the economy tends to peel back a little bit, and they tend to kind of slow down because the big money doesn't know where things are going. But this is a little bit odd because the big money, it's kind of like they're still investing. You drive through a little town and there's a fucking brand new Walmart, a brand new Starbucks. So you're like, okay, big money spending. People are buying businesses and there's lots of trucks on the road. Construction never stopped. So big money's there, but it's almost like the consumer, the retail consumer is a little bit nervous. And they're like, we're still not sure about things. And I feel like it's unfortunate that as we peel away things to segregate us, we just created another thing to segregate ourselves. When we first kind of were before the pandemic, we had a lot of racial segregation in regards to opinions. You know, like my opinion of this is different than yours, and we had a lot of butting heads and a lot of aggression. And then we rolled right into COVID, and now we have another reason to segregate ourselves. You know, I'm pro-mask, I'm anti-mask, I'm pro-vax, I'm anti-vax. And I shouldn't even say those things because, like, I could get canceled off of fucking YouTube in a heartbeat, right? Like, what is the Nelk Boys? They dropped Trump's thing. They took him right off of YouTube.
That's right.
They pulled their podcast, like, off of YouTube because they had Trump on. It's like, man, like you said, what's safe, what's not anymore? So I feel like we just keep reinventing these ways to hate each other. And I really hope that maybe the world kind of just sits back and says, like, maybe we should be a little less aggressive and a little more open to just being, like, it's easy to be nice. It is easy to be nice. There's a fucking cop pulls me. I don't want to be that guy. It snowed yesterday. I clear off a circle in my driver's side, right? So I'm looking just out of the circle. So the rest is covered in ice and snow. And as I got in the car, I was like, God, I'm that guy right now. Like, driving around with a fucking foot of snow on the top. It's blowing all over. And I'm thinking to myself, as I'm getting in the car, I'm like, fuck, I'm going to be late to the show. Like, where? And I'm like, God, I'm that guy right now. So I pull off. And there's a cop pulls in front of me. And so I kind of pull up, but I got to get in the left lane. So I go to the left lane. And now the cop's got his hand out the window. He's like, stop. So I'm like, fuck, it's my windshield. So I pull over and I was like, hello? And I'm like a black dude getting pulled over. I'm nervous as shit. Like, I'm like, can I help you? Like, what do you need me to do, officer? And he's like, clear your windshield off before I give you a fucking ticket. Pull over now. So I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, listen, asshole. Like, I'm trying to be like, you know, in my head, I'm saying that. But really, in actuality, it just comes out. I'm like, okay. I can pull over. But how hard is it to be nice? Like, he could have simply just said, like, listen, but, like, I know you're probably in a hurry. Just fucking wipe your windshield off, please. Like do us all a favor. But there was a lot of aggression there. So hopefully maybe the world kind of ends this whole thing on a good note. Maybe we just get a little nicer.
Okay, 3 rapid fire ones to close.
All right.
This is at the job site.
Okay.
Coffee, tea, or other?
Holy shit. All 3. Okay, hold on. Tea, double, coffee, black, and other, when I'm feeling really fruity, is a mocha frappuccino. And yes, I eat the whipped cream first.
Okay, hot lunch or cold lunch?
Oh my god. Peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
That's your go-to. Okay, last one.
Yeah.
Many small breaks during the day, or just one big break?
Fuck, many small ones. One big one, just it's debilitating. I can't, like, in Italy, I can't live like that. Where they go, like, for a siesta for like 3 hours at the beach and I can't do it.
You find out that it takes longer to break?
Oh, I'm exhausted, like, from my break. I feel like I work harder on my break than I do at work.
Speaking of this,
It's time to get the fuck back to work.